kind of assumed that all the major phone brands' pricing structure, like Google Pixels, somewhat matched the iPhones, with the Pro model being around $1,000, the regular model being around $800, and the budget being around $600. But when I saw the price of Google Pixels 10a, the most recent version of their budget line, for $420, I was drawn to it like a moth to a flame, or I guess in this case, a budget tech enthusiast to an affordably priced device. So what is it really like to use this day to day, and what are the differences compared to the other options in the Pixel lineup? And it is budget, so it's not if there are limitations, but what are the limitations? I've actually had the chance to try a Pixel 10 Pro earlier this year, and I actually loved it. It wasn't my phone, so my experience with it was short, but as an iPhone user, if I were to, that's not the iPhone experience. I think if I were to switch to Android, the Pixels would be my leading pick. Huge, massive disclaimer here. I'm missing a massive piece of the puzzle because I've never experienced using a Samsung phone. But immediately this budget Pixel 10a feels good, but definitely a little less premium than the 10 Pro. Now the 10a is over 80% recycled plastic, and that's unlike the 10 and 10 Pro, which has a glass back as well as aluminum polished matte framing. Now I'll talk about the actual cameras later, but this design is completely flat, which I haven't seen in a phone in quite a long time. It's just nice to be able to put it down and it's, flush with the surface and not wobbling around. I'm sure there are plenty of other experience differences using this phone that I'm gonna hit on later once I actually use it short term for 3 days. But for now, I do want to hit on the specs just for context. This Pixel 10a is using the older Tensor G4 chip with 8 GB of RAM, while the Pixel 10 and actually 10 Pro has the Tensor G5 chip, with the 10 having 12 GB of RAM and the 10 Pro having 16 GB of RAM. The 10 Pro is also the only model to offer a 512 GB storage option, and also have the XL version of the phone. Price-wise, the whole Pixel lineup goes from the 10 Pro XL at $1,200, the regular Pro for $1,000, the base 10 for $800, and the 10A on sale for $420 and retailing around $500. And in my opinion, that is the perfect price range for a budget phone, and I'm excited to start using it. Okay, so it's been a couple days. This is a very short-term review. I just kind of want that initial excitement bias to wear off. But as far as user experience, I do have a couple findings that are worth noting. Unlike in my Pixel 10 Pro video, I made sure this was on Android 17 because I got lit up in the comments. I just assumed if I opened a new Pixel 10 Pro, it would come with the latest software update. I would say as far as Android 17, it is visually nicer than Android 16, and I am once again reminded while using the Pixel 10a just how similar Android is, especially this version of Android on Pixel phones, to iOS from all of the different gestures. In fact, I wish iOS had that little side swipe gesture to go back. That is so much more natural. I can't even put my finger on it, but the Android keyboards themselves also always surprise me of how nice they are. And Google being so well integrated into Android is really nice because you sign into it and then you get your email, you get your YouTube, and that's actually not just exclusive to Google phones. But the Pixel 10a, in my opinion and my very limited experience, I think is what a budget phone should be. And I wish Apple was offering something like this. Now, Apple does offer their 17e, which I think is a very solid phone, but it's priced $100 to $200 more than this. As a former owner of Apple's SE iPhone lineup, I think that had the perfect price range from the $400 to $450 point. Of course, Apple no longer offers the SE lineup or any other phone that replaces it at that price point, but I think that's what the Pixel 10a is to Google. It has all of the essential features, and in a lot of cases, it has more than what the 17e has, while being cheaper. You got Touch ID, you got 3000 nits of peak brightness, which is over twice the 17e. You do have a 120 Hz display, which the 17e doesn't, in addition to things like Face ID and a 6.3-inch OLED display. By default, it comes with 128 gigs of storage, which is half as much as the 17e. In my experience, that has always been enough, and you do get slightly easier integration with Google Photos, although you can get Google Photos on your iPhone too. But the biggest design choice that's on almost every single Android phone that I've tried that is also present here, the lack of buttons on the left side. Now, I don't mind the location of the power button and the volume button, although maybe I'd prefer the volume button to be two separate so I can actually just feel which one I'm hitting. But on the left side, all you have is the SIM card slot. I think you should throw something like Apple's action button or even like the OG ringer switch on iPhones. And that would just be really convenient. And I feel like that is possible, but I don't know, I'm not super technical, maybe that goes over my head. To hit a little closer on the display, it, yes, is OLED and 120 Hertz, which is kind of the standard these days, and it's nice to see it's included on the cheapest model. And resolution-wise, it's comparable to the Pixel 10 Pro and the iPhone 17. Having now used all of those, I really can't tell a difference when I'm actually using it. Now, thankfully, I haven't dropped it in my 3-day stint with it, but it is equipped with Gorilla Glass 7i, which basically means if you're going to be a long-term user of this phone, it should be pretty durable. Now, I did notice that the bezels on this phone are relatively thick for something this modern, but when you're actually using it, like what a little slight border, like that's not going to ruin my user experience. It's really not that big of a deal. And again, when you're reminded that the price of this phone is $425, it's hard to complain about these little things. Now, talking about day-to-day noticeable things with user experience, I did this test with the Pixel 10 Pro, and I have to do it again just to prove a point. Google's Gemini is so much better than current Siri. If I try something information-based, like what were the recent movies that came out in theaters that were made by YouTubers? It has so many options, and I don't happen to see either of the real answers on here. Asking Gemini the same thing, you got Backrooms and Obsession and Iron Lung. I forgot about that one. It tells you the real answers right away. That was what I was looking for. Now, it does look like that pretty soon here, Siri is getting a big update. And by big update, I mean complete overhaul. It's gonna be a lot better with the new iOS. Slight downside there is it's not going to work with pretty much every existing iPhone outside of the 17 Pro, Pro Max, and Air. So my iPhone will not be getting the best Siri, but it's still going to improve. Now, I don't know if it's just from marketing tactics that's been ingrained in my mind. When I think a budget phone, I think something that's slow and sluggish and awful, but this thing has been snappy and fast, opening apps and loading things. But I mean, my workflow is really basic with a phone. I don't need much. I'm listening to music in the background while checking my email. It does that completely fine. I assume most people are in that same boat, and for that, there's been nothing that made me even consider the idea that this thing is not powerful enough. Now, on my phone, I don't game on it or anything outside of maybe occasionally Angry Birds or Clash of Clans. So to try to push the limits, I've downloaded Fortnite on both of these phones, and while screen recording, I'm gonna play around on each and kind of just see how it holds up. Okay, first on my iPhone, and I know this isn't like an exactly fair comparison because this is a base model versus the 10A. It's really just to get a reference point with the device that I'm using every single day. And in fact, it just makes the 10A more impressive because a lot of the features of the 17 are on the 10A. Okay, I'm turning on 120 frames per second, and I mean, it feels smooth. And according to that really small text in the top corner, I am in fact getting the full refresh rate. Come on, first kill. Light work. For the most part, we are still getting a smooth 120 Hertz while screen recording. Impressive. Oh yeah, it's shooting for me. I didn't realize mobile games have gotten this easy. Oh, here's a guy. This isn't even aim assist. This is aim bot. My next victim. How's that fair? Well, that was a very smooth experience, and that's not just because I won. Okay, now on the Pixel 10A, let's make sure that's on 120 frames. I will say this display is so nice. I do have a matte screen protector on my iPhone. Whenever I see just like the pure OLED capability, it makes me want to rip it off, but I do like the matte. We're getting like 100 to 120 frames. I will say the speakers on this, they sound awful, but I'm gonna get to the cameras and audio later. Boom, even on 90 frames per second, so it's not as good as the iPhone. But again, I'm screen recording on here. It's not like 30 less frames is stopping me from winning. I am awful. Yeah, these speakers are one of the things that does make this phone budget. There are a few others. I didn't even see that guy. It just started shooting for me. phone is heating up on my hand. I won again. I'm getting distracted because I am having fun. Some people call me Carter, other people call me the best. Now, as far as something like battery life or similar play times on both phones, my iPhone is down to 95%, the Pixel's down to 94%, both were at 100 before. I understand that is not a scientific test at all, but I feel like in real life, it rarely is. What I can conclude is it'll last a day and you'll be fine. It is a little interesting though that the battery capacity in the 10A is significantly larger than the iPhone, but I guess that just comes down to optimization. For charging, the 10A charges at around 40 watts, which is a decent bit faster than the comparable 17E, which charges at 25 watts. And wirelessly, the 17E gets up to, I believe, 15 watts, and the Pixel 10A only gets up to 10, but the 10A actually lacks magnetic charging, which was a big issue with the 16E. Now the 17E did make that upgrade. Now onto the cameras and audio. Unlike the base Pixel 10 and of course 10 Pro, naturally the budget 10A is gonna lack the telephoto lens. The 10A and the 10 do actually have the same 48 and 13 megapixel wide and ultra wide cameras, but the 10 does have the 10.8 megapixel telephoto camera. But the 10 Pro, at least on the spec sheet, really does step it up with a 50 megapixel wide camera. And both the ultra wide and telephoto sensors are 48 megapixels, which is close to 4 times what the base 10 has. But realistically, who even cares about that? What do they actually look like? I'm just gonna test this quickly here. It's pretty obvious this is not a professional photo or video camera. It just serves as an easy way to capture maybe like a family gathering photo or a picture of your little kid's basketball team when they're down 45 points. Or maybe they're winning. So even though I am comparing it to the iPhone picture here, which looks just as dull as always, the budget Pixel 10A still manages to look a lot better when it comes to pictures. Like here's a pretty uninspiring detail shot with an iPhone. I don't know what that is, but you know, the shape of it does look pretty funny. But when I compare that to the Pixel, I find the colors are actually more accurate on the iPhone one, but something about the contrast looks better on the Pixel. And I think it really captures this beautiful shaped acorn or whatever that is quite well. And for the video on the Pixel, I don't know what it is. I mean, it's definitely noisier. It might not translate through YouTube, but my face looks ghostly. Like it looks like someone like AI generated my face over my existing face. Like it looks so uncanny. On the iPhone, as always, it seems to be the best video camera. I think that just looks much better detail-wise, color-wise, and just overall saturation-wise. Now for the selfie cameras and also microphone audio, hopefully that doesn't sound as bad as the speakers, which I'm about to test, but the Pixel 10A actually has a higher megapixel and slightly wider selfie camera than the others, but it actually doesn't have autofocus. It's like a fixed angle lens, so pretty much everything's gonna be in focus. Doesn't look that bad right on the screen here though. But I am sure that this iPhone here, not only because it's not the most budget one, it's also because it's an iPhone and they tend to do videos well, it's gonna look better. And my guess is probably sound better too, microphone wise. But let me actually run that little speaker test. I think that those speakers are definitely one of the things that makes this phone budget, but what else? Without holding a more premium phone next to it, it feels totally fine. If you're just taking a picture of something, the cameras are fine. The speakers, well, they still kind of suck. But internally, like, yeah, it's not the most recent chip, it's from last year. People are still using last year's phones anyways, and they're just fine. I think the thing that really makes it feel budget is just its position relative in the market. It has nothing to do with the way the phone is in real life. But who does this phone make the most sense for? Well, thinking back to my budget iPhone SE, that was my first ever phone. And I think the 10A is the perfect first phone for someone. I also think this is the perfect first Google phone for someone. And of course, you have the entire rest of the lineup if you want to upgrade down the road. And I also think this is the perfect phone for someone that just needs a phone. Is it the best phone ever? No. Is it marketed to be the best phone ever? No. Do people need or even want the best phone ever? No. I'm sure there are other cheaper and just as capable Android phones out there, but because this is made by Google and you get that 7 years of software support, you get that stability that you might not in other ecosystems. It is a certain tier of device for a certain tier of user, and that might not be you, and that's okay. But because of the price of this thing and what I've found to be the capabilities, it's really hard to complain about anything. Again, this is a very short-term review, and I am curious to see how something like that holds up through time. So if you have any thoughts or experiences with a Google Pixel 10a, be sure to let me know, and feel free to subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.